This broadcast is presented in 4K HDR Ultra High Definition. Presented by Horns and Hooves Entertainment. You are watching Buffalo After Dark. Everybody, welcome to Buffalo After Dark. It is May 25th. We're coming closer to Memorial Day weekend, so first and foremost, thanks to all the vets out there. And of course, we've got Bobby here as usual. Adam's going to take some time off, and we don't know if Andy or Sean are going to be here tonight, but how are things going? It's been a busy week.
Yeah, it's been busy, and on a personal note, I got a new tattoo.
Yeah, you did get that done.
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know, I went on Friday to get a brand new tattoo on my forearm. And what it is it's a map of Long Island, because I'm obviously from there. I live here and I was raised here, but I'm also a Bills fan. So I got the logo of the Bills right on the map of Long Island.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Well, we're going to jump right into it because we have a lot of good stuff to talk about tonight. Of course, if you want to jump on the air, 929-205-6099. And also, we do have the Facebook chat up and running, so feel free to comment in. And if you want to have a take, call in. We'll definitely talk to you. But first thing we'll talk about tonight, and I wanted to kind of lead off because the NFL is making some news this week. First thing I want to touch on is the Washington Commanders, and they ended up doing two things this week. One of them is that they ended up deciding to buy 200 acres of land in Virginia, and it is very possible FedEx Field may be no more.
I honestly don't know how I feel about that, because did they even ever get the approval for the stadium to be marked over there?
I haven't heard of them getting any approval for it. I mean, and I know part of what they were looking to do at one point is that they were looking at possibly moving back to the old RFK Stadium by tearing that down and rebuilding it. But what happened is National Parks Commission, which operates that land, if I remember correctly, told them that they had to get rid of the Redskins name in order for them to even possibly allow it. So at the same time, when they built FedEx Field, it's further out of DC. It's out in suburban Maryland. It's out in Landover, actually. And the way that Washington, D.C. is set up, they have a subway system kind of similar to New York City, but the closest stop is over a mile away from the stadium. So they basically built the stadium in the wrong place.
Which I don't understand, because everything that Dan Snyder has touched with that organization has completely turned to shit. So I honestly don't know where this could go from here, because that can go in any direction. Mm-hmm. And supposedly the Commanders are getting their quote unquote new stadium in 2027. So I personally don't know if that's going to actually be approved, because it has, because it has to go through the state, it has to go through politicians, it has to go through the board of governors, it has to go through a whole bunch of stuff. And for Dan Snyder to secretly buy 200 acres of land in another state, which is within 3 or 4 hours away from Washington, D.C.?
No, just on the other side of the river. So the way that Washington, D.C. is set up is Washington, D.C. is a federal district. And then literally right outside of Washington, D.C., you have Maryland on one side of the Potomac River. And then on the opposite side of Washington, D.C., you have Virginia. So it's all a very close area. And Washington, D.C. is not that big. I mean, it's only from having been down there, it's split into 4 different districts. You have Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, Southwest. And I've actually been to Northwest DC plenty of times because I have family that lives there. So you can ride the subway system from Maryland through DC to Virginia with no problem.
Right. But I will say this, though, is that could you possibly get a map of where FedEx Field is to where the stadium is possibly supposed to be built so that the audience can see where we're going?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will go ahead and I'll pull it up here. And just a little bit of facts on what the stadium could be. It's basically a 60,000 seat stadium is what they're looking at. So similar to what the Buffalo Bills were initially proposing for the new stadium that's going to replace Highmark. But also the other thing that they're saying is that as part of the deal, it would be a dome stadium instead of open air. So that'll be a first for DC. They're also planning on building a brand new practice facility, an amphitheater that can hold up to 20,000 people, a small indoor music hall, high-end retail, bars, and restaurants. So they're kind of doing like a mixed development thing similar to Sean's neck of the woods where Truist Field opened, and they have the Battery Atlanta, which is their development.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, it's funny because the Bills are being run by a bunch of traditionalists with having an open, an open roof stadium. I mean, the Bills' new stadium is going to be nice. I know that, but for the Commanders to have an indoor stadium, or if as long as it's a retractable dome, I don't really see anything wrong with it, because I feel like that the NFL, as far as tradition goes, to play outdoors is slowly dying. And I know there's some teams in the league that have stadiums that are maybe 15, 20 years old that play outdoors, like the Jets with MetLife Stadium and the Giants with MetLife Stadium. That's an old stadium. Like that's maybe 15
Right.
years old, because that opened, I think, in 2009. That's an outdoor stadium.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers with Heinz Field, same thing. That's a 20-year-old stadium. So, but the whole point is that I think people feel like they won't be going to these games as much as if it was outdoors. You know what I mean?
Right. Very true. So what we have on the screen here is we have a map of like basically where the new stadium, the area that it could be. So basically, it's Prince William, Georges County, or Prince William County, DC or Virginia. So basically, anywhere in this area here is basically where it's located. Now, where the current stadium is, you're basically right around Largo, and right now what happens is that the current stadium, you can get to it on the subway system, but it's about a mile away from one of the closest stops. So, and then of course, basically DC, the way that that's set up, it's basically, well, actually, here I'll erase this here so you can see it easier.
So that little circle where it says Largo, I believe that's where it's supposedly they're building the new stadium.
No, that's where the current stadium is, right around there. But the stadium is going to be built somewhere in Prince William County, which is in this area, right up in here.
Okay, what the fuck?
Yeah. So it is going to be further out in the opposite direction from Washington, D.C. Now, the other thing is it's going to be harder for people to get to the new stadium because the way it's set up, with where the new place is going to be, I'm going to give you an idea. Subway system basically runs through here, runs into DC. Then you also have the closest spot that you have is going to be Fairfax, which is where one of the subways goes. Then you have another line that basically comes through here, like down into this area, which is like right here. Then you also have, with how everything's set up, you also have part of the subway that basically goes out into this area. You also have something that goes down into here. And then the other thing that you also have is then there's a subway that goes out towards Greenbelt, which is right up in this area. And then there's also a line that goes up basically from here and kind of like circles around or whatever. So, I mean, it's a big subway system. It's the second largest in the country besides New York City in terms of being how busy it is. But basically, when you have a stadium that's going to be out in this area here, I mean, you're further out from your fan base.
See, I don't understand this move at all as far as like the Dan Snyder's perspective, because it was never approved on by the NFLPA or the Board of Governors, period.
Mm-hmm.
It also has to be voted on by the owners. So it's not like he can just, like, he kind of just basically went through the back door and kind of just did his own thing. Like, you can't really do that. I mean, you can look into, and the Bills did this, is you can look into all kinds of possibilities. Dan Snyder didn't even bother. He just kind of just said, fuck it, I'm just going to put it in the middle of Richmond, Virginia.
Well, it's definitely not in Richmond, but Richmond's a few hours away. But just the location of it, I don't see how it makes sense for them unless they don't want to pay like everything that they have to pay in the state of Maryland for taxes and everything. I mean, Virginia is typically a little bit cheaper to live, but I don't get that move at all. And it's going to make it tougher for fans to get to unless basically they're going to do something like make it like a place where you can go and actually stay. But it just makes no sense.
I don't know. I mean, if they're that committed, if it gets approved by any means, if they're approving this move to that piece of 200 acres of land in Virginia, you might as well just rename them the Virginia Commanders. That's what I think. It's only fair.
Right. I mean, that would make a lot more sense. So it's just kind of crazy to see what they're thinking of. And FedEx Field is not that old. I mean, it opened in 1997. So, I mean, yes, it's one of the older new stadiums, but at the same time, I mean, the team has failed to really keep up with it. And it also consistently has one of the worst grass fields in the entire league. So, I mean, the whole move to get it out of Maryland and move it into Virginia, I think kind of totally defeats the purpose, because if they would have moved it to the old RFK site, which, I mean, that was something they looked at, they have a stop right there. It's super easy for everyone to get to RFK. And there you go. You could have a stadium in the district again.
But that's the problem with FedEx Field is they never really, like you said, they don't really update the stadium. It has one of the worst grass turfs in the league. They also have a huge sewage water problem as well, and it's starting to deteriorate because the material that was built for the stadium at FedEx Field is not up to date. Like, it's not strong enough to hold off everything to what it is today.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, we all saw the clip. I mean, this was back during last season, how one of the pipes ended up breaking in the upper deck and basically is raining crap all over everybody.
Oh, yeah. And not to mention that infamous video that went viral with Jalen Hurts, where he's walking down towards the locker room and the whole rail collapses with like 10 fans on there. Yep. And I think one of them was like a 6-year-old kid or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, luckily everybody was okay. But at the same time, I mean, they're just not updating the stadium and they're letting it fall apart. It's not as bad as on the upper deck at Highmark, which is definitely in need of total replacement, which is why they're building a new stadium to begin with. But I mean, it's like, come on, guys. It's like, invest in your stadium.
And Dan Snyder's too cheap to do that. I actually, you know what? I don't want to say cheap, because I think that he is spending too much of his time on trying to recreate the 1993 Pro Bowl team when he first became owner. If you remember, going on a fucking spending spree. I mean, I was really young when he did that. This is when he first became the owner of the Redskins. And that was when he bought guys like Bruce Smith, Andre Reed, Dana Stubblefield. Who else did they bring in at that point? Jeff George. And then later it was like Albert Hainsworth. But the point is, I think Dan Snyder was too busy contemplating of building a super team with aging veterans instead of actually making renovational changes to FedEx Field. And I honestly would not want to play there. If it ever comes to a time where I would want to see the Commanders, I'll wait until they get that new stadium, if it's actually approved.
Yeah. And time will tell. And the funny thing is, who knows what's going to happen, because another thing that came out this week, Dan Snyder might not own the team much longer, because apparently the NFL owners are looking to get rid of him.
That quickly, eh?
Yeah, seriously.
Well, to be fair, Tom, he's also had a handful of scandals throughout his ownership years, and the guy's only in his late 50s.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. And a lot of Redskins fans or Commanders fans, whatever you want to call them, they're like, oh, we're just waiting for him to die, because they really believe he's the worst thing to ever happen to them. And I'm like, I don't honestly blame you. I mean, Dan Snyder is clearly a top 3 worst owner in the NFL. And he went woke and decided that changing the Redskins name will solve all his problems. And yet it made it a lot worse. So you went from being called the Redskins, which I was fine with. I think that was a great name for them, and it fitted perfectly, to the Washington Commanders, or as I like to call them, the Washington Communists.
Yeah. I mean, and Snyder obviously has no clue of running a team. And anyone who thought that the former owner, Jack Kent Cooke, was bad, Dan Snyder is like bad times 10.
Yeah, I don't understand the move from Dan Snyder's perspective. He's gotten himself into so much trouble. Like, it's almost hard to keep up with him.
Right. So, it's bad when the ownership wants him out. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see what any type of vote has. But the funny thing is the commissioner doesn't even know of a vote coming up for it.
What, for the owners?
Well, to get rid of Dan Snyder. I mean, the commissioner doesn't even know of anything coming up for it. So,
shouldn't he have any say in it whatsoever?
I mean, I don't think he should, but he had no knowledge of any possible vote taking place.
Well, I think that's just ridiculous, because if he was there when they voted on the new Bill Stadium, why can't he just be present for when they have to vote on whether Dan Snyder is going to keep the team much longer than it already is?
Right, exactly.
It's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, and especially the last time that an owner was voted out was back with the LA Clippers, where they ended up bringing in Steve Ballmer after the whole scandal about the sexual harassment and everything else that was going on. But I mean, I remember that was, several years ago now. But at the same time, the NBA ownership and the NBA commissioner knew about it, and he actually forced it on. So I mean, the fact that the NFL executives don't even know about it and that they're going to have the ownership vote possibly to get rid of Dan Snyder, it's just kind of funny how they don't even know what's going on.
That's how ludicrous the league's executives are. They don't even have a clue that they're even voting on this. I didn't even know that until you just told me that. And I'm like, holy crap. I mean, when they're trying to get rid of the worst owner in the league, that says a lot about Dan Snyder that it does about the league. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's such a pitiful look for him and the rest of the league. Like, I can't even fathom of where that would go from here.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're a Washington fan right now, you're hoping Dan Snyder's gone because you've gone through several like over a decade of misery.
More than that, like over 25 years.
Yeah. Like it's brutal. So we'll see what happens, but it'll be interesting how the final result comes out. But in the meantime, we're gonna go into some other news. So if you want to jump on, 929-205-6099 gets you on the air. And one of the big things that came up, anyone who's watching the Stanley Cup playoffs, Florida versus Tampa Bay, and Florida got destroyed 4-0 in a sweep.
You know what's funny about all this? The Florida Panthers remind me of that kid. I saw this video today from Urinary Tree, and he told everybody, hey, I had commitments on the side. That's why I was doing the Toronto Maple Leafs video. I couldn't do it. He did the Florida Panthers, and the dialogue was something like, hey, Panthers, son, your mom and I were talking. Your report card looks great in the regular season, but what the fuck did you do in the playoffs?
Yeah, they got smoked. And how about this? Vasilevsky in the net.
Oh my God. I can already tell you when his career is all said and done, Andrei Vasilevsky will no doubt go down as one of the greatest goalies of all time.
Yeah. 200 shots on goal, and you only let one goal in the entire series.
That's amazing.
I mean, that's Hall of Fame credentials right there, just in terms of the single performance.
I mean, could you imagine the fathom of the Florida Panthers are in right now? Like, how could you imagine? Like, imagine being a President's Trophy winning team. You never won it until this year. You have the best record in the league. You nearly got lucky with that goalpost miss from the Capitals in Game 6 or whatever it was. And then you go into the second round and you get your living shit kicked out of you by Tampa. Like, how the fuck do you do that?
Yeah. And then Game 4, you had 2 goals called back on a stoppage of play that never happened.
The Florida Panthers are a fucking joke. Right. And I mean, and if you remember in the beginning of the playoffs in the middle of April or whenever we did the bracket, when they came out, if you remember when we were all here, I said the Florida Panthers would win the cup over the Calgary Flames. And holy shit, did that blow up in my face.
Right. And then how about this? Florida had 50 shots on goal and they still got shut out.
Yeah. What's up, Sean?
What's good, gentlemen? How y'all been?
Good. How's it going?
Nothing much. Another long day of work, but what else is new?
Yep. Can I buy you some wax?
Why?
So I can shine that big bald spot on your head. Watch like
Oh gosh.
Bobby, you're not that much better. Your hairline's going bad too.
Yeah, don't worry. I got 2 of these.
They ain't gonna do nothing but get you drunk. And that's not even the good beer either.
I don't care. I like Bud Light. But yeah, so
gotta get you a bottle of Young's Double Chocolate Drought that has about 8% alcohol in there. That stuff will get you loaded pretty quick.
Yeah, right. But though, like Tom, you know what's really fucking embarrassing if you're a Florida Panthers fan? If you're a Florida Panthers fan, you know what? You want to know what their statistic was during their on special teams was throughout the entire series?
Yeah, it's pathetic.
Yeah, you want to know what it was?
Yeah.
1 for 31.
You're not winning games on that, and you're not winning a playoff series on that.
And yet the Panthers had the quote unquote best power play unit in the league. Shut the fuck up.
They didn't show up.
You clearly did not show up.
Well,
in that
even their regular lines didn't even show up.
No, and what's even worse is now there's a possibility that Claude Giroux is going to be walking as a free man now that the Panthers are out of the playoffs. And there's now a report saying that there's a very strong chance the Panthers are not going to be able to resign Claude Giroux or Ben Sherrod to long-term deals. Maybe do a 1 or 2 year deal, but that's the closest they're going to get. But as far as that, I think Giroux is gone from Florida at this point. And they gave up so much assets just to get these guys to play on the team.
Right. And especially you figure Claude Giroux, I mean, he feels like he's better off with a different contender. But I mean, with Florida bringing in Claude Giroux, they brought in Sam Reinhart, which Reinhart still didn't do much. Look at everybody they brought in. It's like they tried to do what Dan Snyder did, build a super team, and it never happened.
I think they were trying to one up the Bolts. Yeah. That's what I felt. I really strongly felt that the Panthers were trying to one up the Lightning so that they were stacking themselves up to even compete with them. And it's funny because the first year they ever met in the playoffs in the Battle of the Sunshine State or the Battle of Florida, they actually lost that series in 6 games. And compare that to this year, what the actual hell? What did they do to deserve that? Like, right. And I know that the Panthers are not the strongest market in the league, and I know they've been a joke for the last 20 years, but they just started getting good, and already no one even bothered to show up against Tampa in the first 2 games when it was in Sunrise.
Right.
That's what really boggles my mind. You have the quote unquote best record, and yet you couldn't even sell out a playoff game.
Right. And then the product on the ice was absolutely horrible because Tampa is so stacked and they're like a complete team from top to bottom. It doesn't matter really who they throw on the ice. They're going to have someone there that competes. And even though they weren't getting the shots on goal, especially in game 4, I mean, they only had like 7 shots on goal through 2 periods and they still won.
That's
so what does that tell you?
That is pathetic. Sean, what do you feel about all that with the Florida Panthers?
I didn't think it'd be that much one-sided, man. Like, holy crap.
I mean,
you won't talk about overrated. Like, geez Louise, man. This takes the cake, man. Like, wow. I mean, what else can you say about it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Easily one of the worst playoff series I've seen in recent memory.
Jeez.
Next to what, the 2019 Tampa Bay Lightning?
I mean, it was brutal.
like I'm legit serious. Like, now the question is, are the Panthers going to be anywhere near as good as they were this past year next season? Or do you feel like something's going to fall off the face of the earth? Or do you feel like they're going to go back into mediocrity? Because there's now talks they might trade Sergei Bobrovsky.
Well, yeah, it'll be mediocrity, basically. They're not going to go back to where they were again this year.
I don't know. I mean, Spencer Knight's pretty damn good, though. I mean, he is their future. So, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, including myself, have put in a lot of faith this year on the Florida Panthers. And I felt like I got duped in the playoffs this year. I mean, I fully expected them to beat the Capitals. I fully expected it. But the way how they played against Tampa, I thought for sure Florida was going to win that in 6. But holy crap, they didn't even bother to show up.
Yeah, literally. Easily the worst playoff series of this year so far. And I thought the Nashville series was bad. This one put that to shame.
No, the Nashville game, I knew Nashville was done because of UC Saros being out. But Florida is stacked from top to bottom. How the hell do you do, like, what they did this past week is just, you can't even write a script. Like, you could write a whole-on, like, play on Broadway with how bad that was.
Mm-hmm. Like, literally every single thing that could go wrong for the Panthers in that series went wrong.
Yeah. You want to know something that's bad? How about the Calgary Flames?
Oh, my God.
That's another team that fell off the face of the earth. What the hell is going on with the Calgary Flames? I had them and I had Florida in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they have both just didn't even bother to show up. I know Calgary won the first game, and that game alone was a fiasco, but it's like games 2, 3, and 4, the Oilers completely outplayed them, and there's a pretty good chance they might lose tonight. I mean, tomorrow night in Calgary in Game 5, and the Oilers, I guarantee, will play the Avalanche in the WCF next week.
I mean, it's a pretty good prediction there. But, geez, Calgary, I would have expected way more.
Oh, hell yeah, for sure. What do you think, Tom? The Battle of Alberta.
I mean, the fact that they're rivals right there, it's in province rivals. I expected a better competition, but what in the world, man?
Yeah, especially coming from Calgary. It's like Calgary was just a much better team on paper than Edmonton, but
yeah.
Edmonton just completely played lights out. And if you remember in the beginning of the season, or in the beginning of the series, when we talked about it last week, when it first opened, I was saying that in order for Edmonton to win the series, they have to get one or two things. What version of Mike Smith are they going to get? And it turns out, I think they got a somewhat in the middle of the road version of Mike Smith. Calgary's version of Jacob Markstrom is a clusterfuck. Like,
Oh yeah.
when that first goal in game 4, I felt like that to me summed up the Calgary Flames in the entire series. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Oh.
That,
But then I'll even throw this one in there so far. How about the Colorado Avalanche versus St. Louis? Because that series is going in a weird way also.
yeah, that series is basically over. The Blues are done.
Yeah.
The Blues are done.
And I would have expected more out of that. So,
Yeah, and I expected the Blues to win that series in 6 games if Jordan Bennington didn't get hurt. Because if you remember, I said Calgary and I said St. Louis, and I predicted Calgary to play Florida in the Stanley Cup Finals, and that's clearly not going to happen because Florida fucking choked, and Calgary is eating their own shit as far as I'm concerned.
right.
So it's like, how do you comprehend that? Like, I don't understand. That's what's so exciting about the playoffs. You think you have an answer to what's actually going to happen throughout that series, and then you get blown out in the water into a complete 180, and then it's just like, wow, I didn't expect that to happen.
I know. It's nuts, dude. I mean, and then playoff hockey, I mean, you can see anything come up, and that's what we're seeing right now at this point.
Yeah.
But another thing that's interesting though, and we were all laughing about this earlier in the week. For those who watch the show, I mean, we do talk during the week a lot of times in our own chat. So one of the things that came up, Jason Botterill is a GM candidate for the San Jose Sharks, and please, for the love of God, San Jose, take him.
Nice GM.
Yeah, he's a good GM. Add him to your front office along with that brand new scoreboard you're going to add in the offseason, and then all will be good. Botterill will do good things for you. Yeah, and just like he did for the Sabres. Oh, wait, that didn't exactly happen.
Well, I will give him credit for trading for Jeff Skinner, but that's about it.
Right. But still, San Jose, go ahead and sign him. Give him a 5-year deal.
Like, why would they have interest in Botterill of all people? He's spending his time as the assistant GM in Seattle with Ron Francis.
Right.
Like, I don't understand that. Like, what do they see in Botterill? I mean, when Buffalo first hired him, I thought that they hyped him as the master of the architect or the architect of the salary cap, and yet he completely bolstered it into what it was supposed to be, and he completely shit on that and got fired in 3 years.
Right.
So the same could happen here. Now, could he learn from his mistakes from Buffalo? Maybe, but I really don't know.
Yeah, but also remember he interviewed one other time, and that was when Tim Murray got hired over Jason Botterill.
Yeah.
So basically, Jason Botterill was Buffalo's sloppy seconds when it came to that.
Right. Jesus Christ. And Kevin Weeks, too, was also linked to the San Jose Sharks.
I mean, he'd probably be a better option, honestly.
Probably. I mean, and if he is hired, he'll be the first Black executive in the NHL to get a GM job.
Well, definitely. I mean, if he's better than Botterill altogether, then hey, more power to San Jose. Hire him.
We'll find out who they get, but I have a strong feeling they're going to hire Kevin Weeks. I firmly believe that.
Yep. Well,
it's very possible.
It'll be a good thing. It'll be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then for those who are watching, if you want to get on 929-205-6099, you get to talk to the 3 of us. And 2 last hockey topics before we go into football for the rest of the show. We still have about another half hour left. How about Chicago right now? Because there's some interesting things that are coming up and some possible trades that could take place, especially with free agency. But one of the big things that came out in the last couple of days, the Chicago Blackhawks will trade Patrick Kane if Patrick Kane requests the trade. And they said they're open to it.
Yeah, almost never.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably never leave, but that is interesting. But even more so, how about Alex DeBrincat?
If I would gladly take him. But then again, Chicago is going to probably want a first-round pick for him. So...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know New Jersey is looking at trading the number 2 pick, and I know they're talking about Ottawa trading the 7th overall pick. I've heard Seattle might trade the 4th overall pick and move up. Like, I've heard that from some inside sources, but I don't think Seattle does anything. Philly, I definitely think would be interested in trading the 5th overall pick. Like, it's not a slam dunk draft. Like, it's similar to the 2022 NFL draft where there were trades from left and right. It's very possible we could see that here.
Very true. Very true. But I will say, Chicago's in that spot right now where they're basically having to do a total rebuild.
At this point, they have no choice. They have to go into a rebuild. Fuck.
Yeah, for sure. And then one of the other things, before we jump into Toronto Maple Leafs, Barry Trotz, unfortunately, does not have a new home for coaching yet.
He'll find a job soon. Next.
Yep. So, and of course, Luffy would probably have fun with this one, but the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they may be saying bye-bye to Jack Campbell.
Yeah, good luck, because that's also what happens when you pay $10 million for 4 players and you can't even get a backup goalie.
And they can't even get out of the first round.
And they can't get out of the first round. But there is one request though, and that is when I die, guys, I want the Toronto Maple Leafs to be my pallbearers so they can let me down one last time.
Oh Jesus.
Imagine that though.
Man.
But there has been a lot of talk that Austin Matthews might leave the Leafs in 2024.
Well, I mean, do I blame him? No.
No, absolutely not. I don't blame him one bit. But who knows? I mean, this year is going to be very critical for the Toronto Maple Leafs because I feel like they're getting to a boiling point where they might have to make some desperational move to be relevant. And on top of all that, make a big jump in free agency or by trade and then get back down to where they are today. And
right.
One rumor I've heard is they might end up making a trade to get John Gibson from Anaheim.
Which is not a bad deal. I mean, you would definitely bring some much needed firepower to them.
Well, I mean, he's always hurt. That's the problem.
Right.
And if they acquire him, then the Leafs are going to have a bigger issue. So whoever trades for him, good luck because he's injury prone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Unfortunately. But what we're going to do is we're going to flip into the football side of things to cap off the show here. And, of course, I want to kind of get into this first. The Arizona Cardinals, of course, we're going to see them on HBO's Hard Knocks this year.
Yay! We're going to embarrass themselves.
Remember when Rex Ryan and the Jets were on there and Rex Ryan had that one long speech about let's go get a snack?
Oh, God, I remember that episode. Hard Knocks is so interesting. Like, I can't even begin where they are. So the Lions are going to get the beginning of the season, and the Cardinals are going to get the middle of the season. Fucking Christ, dude.
Right.
Like, how do you fathom that, though? Like, Jesus.
But and then on top of it, to make it even worse, now with Hard Knocks, it'll be actually interesting to see what Kyler Murray says about things because, of course, he wants to get paid and he wants to get paid more than Mahomes and Josh Allen, basically.
He is not getting paid more money than Mahomes and Allen. No way.
That's just straight up paranoia, man. Like, geez Louise.
And it's
he ain't worth that much.
Yeah. And what I was gonna say, what has Kyler Murray done to get $70 million a year? Nothing.
And I'm pretty sure Kyler Murray has not got past the first round either.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah, he hasn't won an AFC title. Well, he hasn't won an AFC divisional title. He hasn't won anything for that matter. Whereas Mahomes at least can justify the fact that he won a Super Bowl and he's an MVP. Josh Allen honestly should have been an MVP with the way that he played. And he got, well, they didn't vote him, obviously, but Allen is a way better quarterback than Murray. Mahomes is a way better quarterback than Murray. I mean, literally, if you look at tier 1 QBs right now, like probably like top 4, top 5 QBs in the league at this point, I would have to put Mahomes, basically like him, Allen, Tom Brady. I would have to put, I would say Burrow is more like tier 2, borderline tier 1 with how he did with Cincinnati Bengals. And I would even throw Stafford in there as a good QB for right now. I would say if I'm looking at Lamar Jackson, he's more of like a tier 2 quarterback where, I mean, he's good, but he still is not great.
I'm shocked you left out Aaron Rodgers.
Well, okay. So Rodgers is up there also. I mean, he would be like top tier.
I was going to say, that's embarrassing that you left out Aaron Rodgers.
No, but I was just thinking like right off the top of my head, those are some of the QBs I would look at. But is Kyler Murray in the conversation? No.
If I'm being completely honest,
I think he's a tier T. I think Murray, honestly, I don't even think he's like a second tier quarterback. I think he's a third tier quarterback.
You know what? Here's a hot take. I would rather have Geno Smith as my starting quarterback than Kyler Murray.
Oh man. All right, let's talk about that a little bit more. What are your thoughts on that?
Why? Because Geno has experience. He's been a starter before, but then again, he was on the Jets, so nothing new there. And Kyler Murray,
we all know that.
And the only reason Kyler Murray is anywhere near where he is today is because the Cardinals just gift wrapped him DeAndre Hopkins, and the Texans are just utterly stupid.
Well, and plus, of course, the Cardinals have J.J. Watt, so you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, and they lost Chandler Jones in the process. So the Arizona Cardinals, to me, are going to be a middle-tier team next year, depending how long this drags out with the stupid drama between him and Kyler Murray. Honestly, do you feel, guys, by any means necessary, that if it goes real south by training camp, or if it gets surpassed training camp, I don't know, but if it gets to that point of the middle of the season, and I'm just exaggerating here, do you feel that if that's the case, that the Cardinals would be willing to trade him?
I mean, I'm sure they could work something out, but honestly, man, I don't even know. I honestly don't.
You wouldn't do it?
I mean, I would try. I mean, the thing is, if Arizona's not going to give him what he wants, then I'm not sure. I think I might cook something up.
What do you think, Tom?
I mean, I think Arizona's going to want an overpayment for him. Quite honestly, I mean, and watch it probably be something stupid like for Kyler Murray. It's like, oh, for us to make a trade, we have to get 2 first rounders, a second round, and we need to get an established player along with getting the actual QB. I'm like, what?
No, definitely not.
He's not worth that.
Arizona would be stupid as shit to trade Kyler Murray.
Their GM is. That's the whole point. I mean, their GM and their front office would be that stupid to probably try and get a massive overpayment for him when he's not even worth it. I mean, let's face it. Kyler Murray is not Kurt Warner when he was with the Arizona Cardinals.
Kurt Warner and Kyler Murray are nowhere near compatible.
Exactly.
So they are nowhere near the same player.
Right. Warner could run the team with no problem, and he commanded that offense, and he was tough to beat when he was totally on.
You're talking about a Hall of Famer versus a midget that's the size of Frodo from Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
You're talking about a hobbit here. Come on.
Right. And yet Murray thinks he's Kurt Warner MVP candidate material.
Absolutely not. He is not worth that money.
Exactly.
And what does he want? $70 million?
Right. And even Mahomes isn't even getting that.
No, Mahomes doesn't even make that much. Allen doesn't even make that much.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson doesn't make that much.
Oh, that's another thing too, is Lamar Jackson, apparently from what I read, is the Ravens are expecting Lamar Jackson to sit out of OTAs. I mean, it's optional, but soon it's going to be mandatory for everybody. But, they're expecting to pay him, but not to the point of what he wants. And that's going to be very tricky because if I'm Baltimore, and I'm going to say the same for Kyler Murray, I would say you should lowball your starting quarterbacks to a prove-it kind of deal. That's what I think. But because it's Arizona and because it's Kyler Murray and he's somehow good, I honestly think that it's in his best interest to show me a 1-year deal. Like, I know it's not the NHL where you can get paid a lot of money to play for 1 year and then move out of free agency for nothing. Like, that's what I strongly feel is going to be the case.
Yeah. But at least in Jackson's argument, at least he has done some stuff and he has gone almost the full distance for the year. So, I mean, Jackson can do some stuff. But Baltimore, at the time when they made that deep playoff run, they ended up basically building a super team around Lamar Jackson. And that didn't work out.
To be fair, Tom, the Ravens always build a super team, even through the draft.
True. And they're pretty decent with how they draft normally. So, I mean, when Lamar Jackson got his deal previously, I mean, he didn't get paid a whole crap ton like everyone thought he would. and I get it. I mean, where he would want more money, would he be more deserving of getting money versus Kyler Murray? Yeah, I mean, Jackson, I think, would be to an extent because he has better overall credentials, but at the same time, he is nowhere near top, like the top tier quarterbacks that we have in the league. He's definitely not up in the top 5.
Far from it.
Right, and Murray's even worse, I would argue.
Listen. I think that because they're both scrambling quarterbacks, I would take Lamar Jackson over Kyler Murray.
Right. Well, Jackson's got the better run game versus Murray.
Because that's the only good thing. That's the only thing he's good at.
Right. And he can make defenders miss. I mean, he's pretty solid with that. The question is the arm strength, though. And I mean, and I would think that if we're looking at Murray versus Jackson, I mean, Jackson doesn't have that great of an arm.
No, neither does Kyler. Oh, actually, to be fair, Kyler has an arm, but it's too small.
Right. And he can't run that great. So,
yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
You keep calling me Tom, bro.
Yeah, you're right. I meant to call you Sean. Sorry, bro.
It's all good. Well, I mean, geez Louise, man. Like, shoot. I don't even know what to think of this one. I mean, I've already said my piece about the whole Kyler Murray thing, and like, geez Louise, man. I don't know how this whole thing's going to work out for him.
It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be fun to see how everything goes. But we have had some, but, you know, in the meantime, I mean, Kyler Murray, is he worth it? No, he's not worth that money.
No,
definitely not by
not even half.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine watching the Arizona Cardinals in the middle of the season and he's still not signed.
You know, that'd be hilarious.
That would be hysterical. And the Cardinals will miss the playoffs the longer Murray sits out. And plus, DeAndre Hopkins is out for 6 games for taking roids.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
What was he thinking?
Right. And he's claiming, oh, I didn't know it was roids. It must have been. It's like, I'm going to investigate this with my team and we're going to figure it out. It's like, shut up, DeAndre Hopkins. You took roids. You know it.
Yeah, D Hopkins is a great receiver, but it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
Really
Holy fuck, dude. And next week, and I'm just watching the commercial on TNT, next week is the Mahomes and Allen versus Rodgers Brady match. Next Wednesday at 6:30.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's good.
And speaking of unnecessary, so I don't know if you guys heard the news yet, but Las Vegas Raiders.
Yes, they signed Colin Kaepernick to a tryout. Let it out. Let it out. Let it out.
What? This is the same dude, and I'm sorry if I'm about to go political, but it's relevant in this situation.
3, 2, 1.
This is the same Colin Kaepernick that freaking compared the NFL Combine to slavery. This dude, this race hustler had the audacity to compare a league that he got paid big money for to slavery. Why? Why is any team giving this dude a chance?
Well, the Raiders are not surprised, huh? Because that's what they do. Same with the Cowboys. They do that all the time.
I promise you this will bite them in the back, and it's not going to be pretty.
They're probably not even going to sign him.
Well, maybe not, but hey, he's got a career being a race hustler. He makes more money there. So
True.
No.
Either way, he wins.
Right. I mean, when he was with the 49ers, I mean, he basically pissed his career away.
Yeah.
As after he made that Super Bowl run, which he didn't win, but I mean, he ended up beating out Alex Smith. He had it all. Like right in his hands. And yet he decided to go the route he did, basically found himself out of a job. And where has he been in the NFL the last almost 5 years? He's been totally irrelevant.
Longer than that, since like the last 7 years. We're talking 2016 since he's been in the league.
Yeah, I mean,
The dude doesn't have much time left to play anyway. He's 34, 35 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
like, listen, as far as I'm concerned, nobody can blame Colin Kaepernick, but Colin Kaepernick's himself. He's actually a substantial hypocrite to the point where he said that the NFL Combine was like slavery, and he also said that he said that the players get treated like slaves in the NFL, and he had the audacity to do his political stunt during a 49ers game, and then because he was losing endorsements and shit like that, he just so desperately wanted to get back into the NFL. Like, oh, please take me back, please, please, please. I didn't mean any of that.
Oh, no, too late, bro. You still got your Netflix documentary on there.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you
they
still
probably-
somehow have some endorsements, and I don't know how you do, but you still have some.
Well, to be fair, his endorsement is Nike, which is their shoes are being made in the Chinese Communist Party. So that's
Yeah,
not
true.
that surprising.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, that's Colin Kaepernick. But no, like for him to just whine like a bitch, it's honestly just a big wave of nothing, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it'll be a publicity stunt. Basically, what's going to happen is he's going to do the tryout. He's not going to make it. And then he'll whine that he didn't make it.
Because of his skin color.
Right. And you know what? Kaepernick deserves to be out of the NFL,
Yeah.
basically.
Well,
The
he was
dude-
no,
the bum. I'm saying it right now. I don't care who hates it. The dude's a freaking bum. Period.
I remember the one year the Bills were linked to Colin Kaepernick before they drafted Josh Allen.
Well, I'm glad that we went with Josh Allen instead, because look at how much further along we've gotten.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of the NFL, according to Ari Mirov from My Sports Update, he said that the roster management notes for next season for the NFL Network are, quote, and this is for practice squad players, by the way. He said that the players that placed on IR are now miss a minimum of 4 games, not 3. And it's going to take up to 8 players that can be designated to return from IR. And then players can come back from IR twice in 1 year. And teams can have up to 16 players on the practice squad. That's an interesting change.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Pepsi is no longer the sponsor for the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a big one because they've been a sponsor for so many years.
Yeah, I've heard about it. Well, like what happened? Like why did they back down?
I have no idea. Maybe the deal went through and their contract ended and they said, we got to find someone else. The NFL will find someone easily.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
Easily.
mean, so many companies will pay for that spot.
absolutely.
Yeah. And the Pittsburgh Steelers now have a new GM. Did you
Yes.
believe that?
Omar
Do
Khan.
they?
Yep.
Who's
And
it?
Omar Khan, he was the Pittsburgh Steelers Vice President of Football and Business Administration for the last 6 years with the Steelers. And he's only 45 years old and he's been with the team since 2001.
Wow.
Yeah. So this guy is now going to be holding the keys for every transaction that will ever be made by the Pittsburgh Steelers going forward.
Now, here's something I can mention. Pittsburgh, a lot of times, they're well known to hire internally. They always like to boost internally whenever they can. And I mean, Omar Khan has done quite a bit with the team already, especially being on the business side of the front office, and he's also been one of the VPs for the last 6 years, as you had mentioned. So I don't mind the fact that they went internal for it because he's already very familiar with the team. I am glad Doug Whaley didn't get it, and he is a former Pittsburgh Steelers front office person.
Oh, dude, I would have freaking laughed
I
if
know.
Doug Whaley got the job.
I mean,
would have
Doug Whaley's an
laughed.
idiot. So, in terms of how he was trying to build the team, I mean, going back to that time, I mean, when Whaley was here, we had players like Marcel Dareus, and look what happened to him.
Woo! Oh, and speaking of Marcel Dareus, a couple of weeks ago, he got a tryout with the Ravens.
How'd that go?
Okay.
I haven't heard from him since.
Right.
I met him once. He was a big dude, but that was right before he ended up getting nailed with his weapons conviction.
Didn't he get arrested for drunk driving in a go-kart?
There was something.
No, I don't
He
even
did
remember.
stupid stuff, I'll tell you that.
He's a stupid man himself. He's a good football player, but the reason why nobody picked him up is because A, he's fat as a horse. Well, no, I'm sorry, he's fat as a hippopotamus, and B, he's too much of a malcontent, and he only bitched and moaned about money when he was with the Bills, if you remember that. And they traded him for nothing basically. And I think they flipped it and they got friggin' Matt Milano in that deal, I think.
Right, which actually worked out a lot better, quite honestly. But yeah, his last known stats in terms of height and everything, 6'3", 331.
Jesus Christ.
He's a big dude. And I've met him in person once.
And how was he? A massive douche like he was?
Yeah, he wasn't that fun to be around. And I'll tell you, I mean, I got a picture, but it looked like he was just going through the motions of being at my work site, doing autographs and everything. But I actually still have my signed jersey.
Do you really?
Yeah, I still have my number 99 signed jersey from him, the home jersey. And I also have some other stuff signed from him, but actually I have a picture from him somewhere on my Facebook probably too.
I would never want my picture with Marcel Dareus.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, I met him once. I mean, I didn't exactly care for him. I didn't really like him. So I mean, and it is what it is. He didn't play to his potential.
You know who surprisingly was a douchebag to me when I met him? Bruce Smith. Bruce Smith.
Really?
Yeah, Bruce Smith was a douchebag to me because he came down. I'll tell you the story real quick before we go, and I'll ask you guys: is when the Super Bowl was held in New York at MetLife Stadium, Roosevelt Field Mall, which is about 15, 20 minutes from where I am. It's a big mall around Long Island, probably the biggest one in Nassau County. And at that time they had I forget exactly what the name of it was called. I think it was like the Super Bowl convention or something like that, where they had a list of Hall of Famers, come down from where they were to Long Island for a couple of hours at a days or whatever, just to sign autographs. And I remember names like Randy Moss came. Who was there? Randy Moss, Rod Woodson, some ex-Giants, some ex-Jets, and most of the Super Bowl Bills. I met all of them: Marv Levy, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Jim Kelly. I think Jim Kelly was the best one of all of them, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. The worst one was Bruce Smith, because what happened was when I met with Bruce Smith, I was getting ready to go. And I had an 8x10 of him. I don't know where it is now, but I had an 8x10 picture of Bruce Smith, and I was pretty much ready to get it signed. And then he asked me, because I had my Bills helmet. It's over there, actually. It's my red one. And I had a decision to make between the picture or the helmet. And I said, not thinking about the helmet and its worth, because I was into pictures at the time. Mm-hmm. I go up to him and I said, "Hey, Bruce, what's going on?" He's like, "Do you want a picture or do you want a helmet?" And I didn't hear him because I'm a little hard of hearing. It's genetics. And I ask it, I'm like this, and he screams in my ear, and he puts his hand down. He's like, "Helmet or picture?" in front of everybody else in front of me. And I said, "Whoa, okay. I just want a picture." He's like, "Oh, okay." And then he just signs it, and I get a picture with him. And I really wish I had the picture with me. There's a picture of me side by side. My hand is like this. His hand is 5 times bigger than mine. Like his is like the size of like a claw that you would get in one of those like games you would get with like the stuffed animals at like David Buster's or something like that. His hands are huge. But he was a douche though when I met him. I don't know if he was in a bad mood or if he was just exhausted from traveling from Buffalo to Long Island. I really wasn't sure. But I met everybody else. Thurman Thomas was great. Marv Levy was great. He actually gave me a thumbs up. Who did I say? Darryl Talley. He was good. Jim Kelly was my favorite one of all of them. So that was my rundown. But this was like 8 years ago when I met them. I was like really young. I think I was like 21 at the time when all this happened, or going on 22.
Well, there you go. Going back to 2011.
Wow. Holy shit. Do me a favor. When you get a chance, can you get my Facebook account? If you go under albums and go into players where I met, there's a picture of me and Bruce Smith. So I want to show you the picture of his hands compared to mine. It's huge.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll definitely find it. I have a picture with him with that, and you'll be like, holy shit. But no, Bruce Smith was a huge douchebag to me.
Yeah, so while you're looking at, I remember back in 2004, like in summertime, I was at Jim Kelly's football camp, and we were taking a picture. We were taking a team picture, and Jim Kelly had his he had his hand around my shoulder, and I was like I was thinking to myself, "Holy crap, are you serious?" Like, dude, that was freaking awesome, man. I got the picture somewhere. It's freaking somewhere in my garage. Oh boy, got to do a little spring cleaning and find it. But I have it somewhere.
Yeah, like I said, it's funny. We all met a Bills player. You met Jim Kelly. I pretty much met everybody. The only one I have not met because he didn't come was Cornelius Bennett. That's the one player that I didn't meet. But like I said, I met the main heroes. I met Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Andre Reed, Thurman Thomas, Daryl Talley, etc.
And you met RJ at one point from the Sabres.
Of course. Yeah, there he is. There's Rich Generette.
Nice.
Yeah, but where's the picture of me and Bruce Smith?
Trying to find that on here.
Yeah, as I want to show you my hand size compared to his is huge.
Yeah,
I know Sean's gonna freak. I know Sean's gonna freak out. He's like, "Holy crap, dude!"
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought you had like a players you've met album on here.
I do, and it's a combination of players. Like I've met, like I said, I've met other players from other teams in the NHL, and I've met some NFL players. My last Bills player that I ever met before all that, when I made that album, was Andre Reed, because he came on a separate day, and he was there with Ron Woodson. And I think, if I remember correctly, Otis Anderson, who played for the Giants, he was the running back for them when they beat the Bills in Super Bowl 25. I think he was there too. Mm-hmm. So if I remember correctly, I definitely remember Rod Woodson, because my picture with Andre Reed, there's a little booth. It's me and Andre Reed, and then on the left side is Rod Woodson. So that's how I remember him. I didn't get a ticket for Rod Woodson, but I got a ticket for Andre Reed.
Yeah, I definitely saw I see the album on here where you met Cal Clutterbuck, but
well, yeah. There was the funny story behind that Cal Clutterbuck signing was that was when he first got traded from the Wild to the Islanders, and they at the old Coliseum, and they did a little graph session where you can meet Cal Clutterbuck, and I think it was like $10 when you can meet him, and you brought a little item with him for you to sign, and they gave out little index cards, and then he would sign it. Mm-hmm. That's what I remember.
Yeah. For some reason, I still can't find that album of players you've met.
Yeah, it should be under album. Let me see. So if you go under my Facebook page, if you go under photos, and you go to albums, and it will say NHL player, and it will say athletes I've met, and there's a long list of pictures on there. And yeah, I just found the picture as Marv Levy.
Okay, cool. So what I'm gonna do is
there's the picture of me and Marv Levy.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah. You found it?
Yeah, I did find the album. So we'll kind of go through it.
Yeah.
Oh, Grigorenko before he got the axe.
Yeah, that was his rookie year. I remember that picture. Let's spend a little time. Let's spend a few extra minutes just look at the pictures.
Brandon Pruss, that's a good one to meet.
That was when he played for the Canadians.
Yep.
I used to do this shit when I was like 21. I used to just spend all my time off and just go graphic for as many teams. That's Calvin DeHaan when he played for the Islanders when he was a rookie.
Brock Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you got to meet George Peros, the heavyweight champion of the league.
Yep. I think that was when he played for the Canadians. Anders Nilsson,
Marty St. Louis.
One of the all-time greats. Marty St. Louis.
Sammy Salo.
Sammy Salo, that's right.
Cam Fowler.
Yep.
Boudreaux. Yeah. I remember it's been like 3 years since I was standing in that same spot as you were. So.
Right? At the old Coliseum. I really wish Sean got to stand out in the game at the Coliseum. I think he would have loved it.
Yeah, Timu Solani, that's a good one.
That was a bitch to get.
Yeah, Volchenkov. Okay.
Ryan Carter. I think he has his own show on Barstool Sports. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Corey Schneider. Okay.
Corey Schneider. Look at my hair back in that day. Oh my God.
Pete DeBoer. Oh, he just got fired from Vegas.
Yep. This was before Vegas. Reed Boucher, that registered sex offender.
Yeah. Jordan Stahl. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think that was like the second or third year he was in Carolina. Manny Malhotra.
John Forsland
before the Seattle Kraken job.
Andre Sekera before he went out.
Yeah, he was on Carolina.
Yeah.
And notice how I'm in my Sabres jacket, trying to look for ex-Sabres.
Yeah.
Kari Lehtinen,
that's a good one.
Jim Neal.
Yep.
Yeah, these are some great pictures. James Patrick.
Yep.
when he was the GM of the Stars, or the assistant GM, Dan Ellis.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
Trevor
that one.
Daly.
Trevor Daly, baby.
There you go. Good old Lindy Ruff.
Lindy Ruff. I was there
man.
specifically for Lindy Ruff and James Patrick on that day. I looked for the entire executive branch. I looked for all the players who were all ex-Sabres.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked, oh, okay. So this is an interesting story. So what happened was this was when the Dallas Stars were coming. And Tyler Seguin, the guy that's covering his face all around black, that's actually Jamie Benn. And the guy behind him is Tyler Seguin. So the story behind this is because they didn't like taking graphs or pictures for anybody. So what they did was it was a group of 14 people, including myself, and they just kind of covered their heads like this, like they were about to rob a bank, and they just go walking right through. And they didn't even like engage with us. They didn't talk to anybody. They just kept walking through, and they told us to fuck off.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I had some experiences back then.
Hey, Ian LaPerriere. Okay.
Ian Lapierre, yeah. Ian Lapierre.
Yeah, Braden Coburn.
That 1 year he was actually healthy. Mark Streit when he played for the Flyers recently. David Krejci. He hasn't been on the Bruins in a while. Joel McGilla.
Damn, that's a good one.
One of the all-time best Black Canadian players in the NHL.
Yeah. Milan Lucic. Oh, you actually did meet him.
Yeah, I wasn't joking when I said that. Except his eyes were closed, probably because of the sun. But
right,
it's whatever. I didn't care. Marv Levy.
Yeah, there we go.
We're actually getting close to the Bruce Smith picture here, I think.
Yeah, the Thomas one doesn't show up.
Oh, damn. You know what? I have it on Instagram. So there it is. There's the picture. Look at his hands and look at mine.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, like some of the biggest hands for a player that I can remember.
Yeah, he didn't treat me very well before that picture was taken. But outside of that, he was a good sport out of that. But the way he treated me that day, he was a douchebag. But I guess he didn't want to be in Long Island. I have no idea. But yeah, there was a whole big thing. I think Thurman Thomas was there. And I'm actually getting the picture of Thurman Thomas right now as we speak. I'm actually going through my Instagram. But no, there was some really interesting pictures I took back then.
Yeah.
But
Mike
Bruce
Camilleri.
Yeah. I think there's also a picture that I have with Daryl Talley, but I got to get that picture off Instagram. Once I get the Thurman Thomas picture, I'll definitely show it to you.
Yeah, Clint Malarchuk. Now, he is, well, first, he's lucky to be alive after what happened with that whole incident on the ice, which is good. Him. And actually, I remember you've actually been able to interview him twice. I was with you for one of them, and he was pretty cool to talk to when we had him on.
Mm-hmm.
He was a lot of fun to talk to, and he really brought up some very interesting times, in the league, and he really brought up some good issues that we ended up talking about. And the other thing I kind of look back at is back when we had him, he was out in Nevada at the time, and he was getting his ranch ready in Idaho, so he was making the move up to out of that state. But pretty cool though. He was a very interesting guy to talk to.
Yeah. By the way, I found my picture of Thurman Thomas.
Yeah. All right. So what I'll do is go for it.
All right, here we go. This is the picture of Thurman Thomas when I was 21 years old.
There you go.
And look at this. And look at his fucking face. He's just like this. Look at his face.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, Thurman's a great guy. I love Thurman Thomas. You know what's funny? I'm actually trying to bid for a Thurman Thomas jersey on eBay.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, so like I said, I was really big into pictures at the time, not thinking about the helmet. But all in all, this is what I walked out of with the stadium. So you can see I had Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, and Marv Levy. And I had to go back for Jim Kelly and Daryl Talley because they had something going up that day.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make it on time. And then Andre Reed came on a separate day, which was very interesting.
Nice. And Sean, you'll actually recognize this one. Ex-Seattle Kraken player Mark Giordano.
Oh, man.
And he just got a handsome extension with the Toronto Maple Leafs. 2 years, $2 million. 2 years, $1 million. Sorry.
Yep.
Oh, good for him.
Matt Martin in the Hummer.
Matty Martin. Yep.
Yeah.
That was when I met the Avalanche. Nathan McKinnon in his rookie year.
Yeah, that's a good one. That
was a great shot. And honestly, if you were to go and get him now, he would be impossible. But at that time, everybody knew who he was, but they didn't know what he was going to be.
Yeah, got Okposo in his truck.
Kyle Laposo, yep.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Franz
Franz
Nielsen.
Nielsen, he just retired yesterday. He
Yeah.
had a great career.
Matt Duchene of the Avalanche. That's a good one.
Matt Duchene on the Avalanche. That was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Patrick Waugh.
Yeah, Patrick Waugh was a douchebag on and off the ice. He was a douchebag. But that was when he was the head coach for Colorado at the time.
Yeah, and look where that got him.
Yep, Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was a year or two before he got traded to Buffalo.
Yep. Yeah, Cal Clutterbuck, which I know you definitely have. You had a couple of different things with him actually. I think.
Yeah, Cal Clutterbuck. Let's
Yeah.
see what else.
At him, Jim Kelly.
Yep, there it is, Sean. There's my picture with Jim Kelly.
There you go.
Yeah, and this was like the hype. This was right before he was diagnosed with cancer.
Man.
I think that was taken 2 weeks before that event. I remember that. I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, back in 2014. So yeah, that was a fun one. And then even like when I was down on Long Island with you last time, I mean, it was pretty interesting because I actually have the picture of us and Evan Rodriguez before he got traded in my office still. So
yeah, and we also have the picture with Jason Botterill.
yeah, I remember that. I've got the stuff signed from him. And then remember how like the little kids were going crazy about Jack Eichel, and Eichel was being a douchebag, not wanting to talk to anybody.
Well, the thing is, he never came off on the bus that day because what players used to do back in the day, like the big ones, is that like people like Jack Eichel, for example, they used to just not walk with the team. Like a lot of them would, but most of them, like the really big ones, like Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, they would just refuse to walk and they would just take the bus to go there and back at the Coliseum.
Mhm.
And that's what Jack did back in the day. He did not want to negotiate with himself, with the kids.
Yep. So good old bots.
Jason Botterill. And he's got a fucking assistant GM job in Seattle. How fun is that?
Yep. Then of course, that's the picture I've got in my office at work. It's on my wall.
Do you regret taking that picture?
No, I don't.
Oh God, it's 3-0 Colorado. It's over.
Although we'll have to get to the one story here, but of course, and I have this picture in my office also, so that's on my wall.
Yeah, then we got to get another picture again. All of us, you, me, Sean.
Yeah, Brittany right
and
beforehand.
There's
in
my
the
wife.
Coliseum before we got smoked like 6-1. And then that's the picture that started it all. That went viral on Twitter. Thanks to Mike Harrington.
By the way, Sean, have you ever heard that story before?
About the Housley?
With Fire Housley? You ever hear that story?
I think you told me about it before.
Maybe. I mean, you want me to tell it again if you like the brief version?
Remind me.
Okay, so what happened was Phil Housley was such a terrible head coach. I think this was his second season, towards the end of the season. And Tom wanted to come, and I invited Tom to come down to Long Island to see the Islanders play at the Coliseum because this was like right before they left to go play at UBS or before they got the new land at that time. And they were playing the Sabres, and Jack Eichel was, I think, in his second or third year at that point. And so immediately afterwards, Phil Housley, people were saying, oh, we got to fire Phil Housley. And he was a terrible coach. So what I did was the night before the game, I went to Office Max or Staples, and I got myself a piece of cardboard with some markers, and I wrote "Fire Housley" on it. So what I did was, and I think there's a picture of it, is I took that sign during the warm-ups for that game, and I put it up against the glass, and I'm just standing there like this, and all the people that were there were just hysterically laughing, and they were just like,
"Okay, I remember now." Didn't you guys get kicked out for that?
I didn't get kicked out. They
just confiscated the sign. It was like in the second period.
Yeah. They detained the sign from us. They didn't kick us out. Luckily, they didn't. Because, I mean,
and then us at the Empire State Building.
And then the funny thing about that too was Mike Harrington saw that, and he's obviously a news writer for the Sabres on the Buffalo News, and he sees it, and he's like, "Oh, look, we have a fan here that has a sign that says Fire Housley," and all of a sudden on Twitter. Just a list of comments from people like, fucking asshole, fuck you, go kill yourself.
In fact, that's the picture that they posted, because basically The sign was right there. It was like you were holding it like right up on the glass like this, and you had your like head away.
I didn't want him there, and I'm just like, you know what? And then like a week later, Halsey got fired, and I'm like, maybe I was a big reason. And I think some of the Sabres players were commenting.
There it is.
There it is.
Oh boy.
There it is.
That's the tweet that went viral. And then the Swedish Media woman, the blonde chick, was talking to you.
Yeah, I think this was when they were trying to interview Rasmus Dahlin.
Yeah, Dahlin's first season.
Fucking hell, dude.
Oh man, that went viral for a while.
I want to find that tweet and pin it on my account. I want to do that so bad.
Oh, well, there's a date, 3/30/19 is when it got posted. So
if I could find that tweet, that would be amazing.
Right.
And the comments for that were just like astronomical.
Oh yeah. Well, remember we were walking along like in that concourse too, and the Sabres fans either loved it to the point where we were like walking around with the sign, like holding it up in the air, and they either loved it and they wanted to have pictures with you, or they told us to go back to Canada, or saying something else, like swearing at us.
So they were like, "Let's go Buffalo," and then it's like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, it was either one or the other. Seriously.
And when people found out that it was me, I'm like, "You got some serious balls."
Yeah. Oh, that was a fun one, honestly. And it was hilarious too, because then at the time, I think when we got back, we did podcasts from Long Island, like when I was down there. We did like a little quick trip thing. And then after that, when I got back here to Buffalo, we ended up doing at the time we were running After the Horn all the time. And that was like our post-game show. And we actually talked about it during that, and just some of the comments were hilarious.
Yeah, I forget. If we can find that episode, Tom, that would be amazing. If we can actually find that episode and download it, I want to tell that story again, just so that I could laugh at it.
I wish I still had it, because it was on our old Buffalo Sabres Blue and Gold Mafia site that we both got booted from and blocked. So
that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, Beaver's an idiot, but anyways.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But all in all, though, I had a great time with this episode, just talking about going down memory lane.
Yeah, and it was funny. It's like we didn't even plan on it too. It just happened, which was fun, because I mean, in just in about a month and a half or so, I mean, I'm gonna be back down there, so we're gonna be down on Long Island for a few days, and basically get to watch you walk the aisle and get drunk.
Yep. And of course, we're going on our trip in October to Kansas City.
Yeah, so we'll have that too. Which will be fun. So
that's gonna be a fun trip. Dude, I can't wait to go to Kansas City with you guys. I can't wait.
I'll tell you, a live show from Arrowhead.
Yes, we can do that.
That would be great if we could do that.
Yeah, we'll find like some tailgate lot or something.
Yeah, we could probably do it like the day before the day before the game. Something like that.
If there's like a way we can park down there or something, we can just like kind of like broadcast from the stadium.
Absolutely.
Oh my god, that would be so dope.
Good. Right. But yeah, the last thing we'll talk about, and then we'll wrap up. I know we went a little bit over time tonight, which is fine. I mean, we've been on for a little over an hour. It's not bad. It's hour 13 minutes. Who's counting? But Von Miller has taken the field in OTAs. And it is really cool to see him coaching the younger guys.
It's teaching the young bucks.
Yep.
Which is great.
Yeah. And they're listening to him too, which is even better. They're like, a guy like Von Miller, you respect him when he comes into your team.
Mm-hmm.
So just awesome to see.
Yeah.
But it is funny though. We did get Housley fired, so I like to say we had a little bit of a helping hand in that. So, especially Evan Rodriguez was laughing his ass off when he skated by the bench and he saw that, and he recognized us too because he only took pictures with us like 2 hours earlier.
And I think he said he promised us the picture too. I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he did, and he did come back and he gave us one, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, he kept his promise, and I always liked D-Rod, but he was not a good player on the Sabres.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we got to see Paul Hamilton walk by, and it's like, nobody wants a picture with him.
Dude, that guy looked like diabetes when he was walking.
Yeah, I mean, I know he ran into health issues afterwards, which at least he's doing all right now. But
And then I didn't get a chance to call him a fat fuck though. That's the only problem.
yeah, I got you. But, well, Rob Ray got him into shape, so that's that. But I mean, he's still doing his usual stuff with WGR. I mean, I can't really crap on him that much right now, at least. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it was an interesting day with like all the people we saw, and I mean, I would have loved to get a picture with is Rob Ray, but I've already met him a couple times, and plus I can drive down to Eden if I really want to meet him at his at Razor's restaurant he's got down there.
Oh yeah.
So could always do that. But yeah, Rob Ray's always been pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So that being said, we went a little overtime tonight, but any final thoughts from anybody?
That's it for me.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, all right, same here. So hey, I hope you guys enjoyed our little trip down memory lane. But of course, we'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us as usual, and of course, until then, of course, take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you. Happy Memorial Day to everybody. Thanks to all those who served. And to all the people in Texas right now, we went through the same thing in Buffalo a week and a half ago. Our thoughts are with you guys. So in the meantime, We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Take care.
Have a good one, guys.
Buffalo After Dark is an H&H Studio production and is produced in partnership with Horns & Hooves Entertainment.